Alright, what's going on, guys? It's Major. I'm back with another video. Now, this one's going to be a little different. This is going to be my top 10 albums of 2018. And I know it's a little late, so don't hate me for it. We're like 10 days into 2019. But better late than never. And just a warning, some of these albums didn't exactly come out in 2018. Most of them did, but this is kind of my first time doing this, and I wanted to, what? This is my first time doing anything music related. I wanted to throw some favorites in there. But first one's going to be Unheavenly Creatures by Coed and Cambria. Now this is the first album after The Color Before the Sun. Goes back to, actually, if you guys don't know, Coed and Cambria are a progressive rock band. Most of their albums, except for one, revolve around a concept that or a comic that the lead singer has written, and it's actually pretty interesting. I haven't read it myself, but Coed and Cambria's music is absolutely glorious, guys. This album came out, I think, around fall. I think it came out in fall, and there's not really much to say about it other than that it's Coed and Cambria and it's amazing, and Coed and Cambria cannot disappoint. I don't think they've made a bad song in their career of music even once. So, and regrettably enough, I just got into this album a week or two ago. 'Cause I've kind of been listening to new music a lot this year, or this year and last year, but at least I got around to it. So, number 9 is going to be Avatar Country. It actually took me until last month to legitimately listen to this album all the way through. My first impression on this album was actually not good. I think it was give me a second. It was The King Wants You was their first release before they released that album, and I hated it. It didn't feel the same to me. But then the album came out, and it took me a while to start listening to it a little more. But by the time I actually got at least halfway through, I was just like, "Holy crap!" This album is probably their best work in their career so far. It takes elements from their older stuff, like way older, like album 2 and 3, and it still feels like modern day Avatar. And there's new elements in there too. They've broken new ground with their sound in this album. This is another one of those bands that cannot make a bad album. At least they haven't so far. I don't think they will. I honestly don't. But number 8 is going to be Dissentient. Now, this one's by a band called Angelmaker. I actually found this band a couple years ago. I think it was in 2016 when they first released this album. It was Godless was the first song I heard, and it was pretty heavy. I think it was like in heaviest songs ever or something like that video I watched. But eventually, I found the album, and I started listening to it on and off. It was just kind of like, feels like deathcore. But it started growing on me very, very, very slowly, and I very, very slowly became obsessed with it, and pretty much listened to it on and off all year. It's everything you could want from deathcore. Really chuggy, really slow, speedy breakdowns in it. Amazing vocals, amazing melodies. It's all around just an amazing album. I highly recommend it. Number 7 is going to be The Way of All Flesh. Now, it actually took me a while to get into Gojira. This band is something else. I've actually known about them for a while now, but I didn't get into them until last year. It was actually a reaction YouTuber. His name is Alex Hebner, and he reacted to, what was it? Flying Whales, that was it. He reacted to Flying Whales, and I was just like, alright, clickbait, whatever, I'm going to click on it. And I love Flying Whales. So I bought that album, listened to it all the way through, loved every second of it, bought The Way of All Flesh, and it blew me out of the water, like, in every way possible. Oh my god. Guys, this album is... I wish I could say it's one of the best of 2018, but it didn't come out in 2018. But at any rate, It was one of the albums I was completely obsessed with. I actually had to stop listening to it. I had to force myself to stop listening to it because I wanted to get into the next album, which I'm finally doing. Um, I was just like, I can't. I gotta step away from this because I started listening to the next album and I was just like, this isn't the way of all flesh. I can't do this. So I finally got over it. But this album is absolutely glorious through and through. Every song on it's a beast. Number 6 is gonna be the Now Now. Now, this is by a band called the Gorillaz. I'm sure most of you know who the Gorillaz are. This album came out last year. The first song, I think the first single was Hollywood, or no, I think it was Humility actually. And the second scene, I can't remember, but I watched Humility. The music video for it has Jack Black in it, and it was pretty entertaining. I can't lie, and the song is pretty chill. I enjoyed it. Um, but then they released Hollywood, the one with Snoop Dogg in it, and I became so obsessed with just that song. I could not stop listening to it. Eventually, I bought the album whenever it came out and listened to it all the way through. It's pretty amazing. I can't really say it's some of the best they've done because I've only listened to their first 3 albums, but this album did finally get me past Demon Days because Demon Days was pretty much the only album I had listened to before this album came out. So it finally got me past Demon Days. I started listening to Plastic Beach and the album after that. But at any rate, definitely worth listening to, guys, if you like the Gorillaz or anything that's kind of like pop, hip hop, rap type stuff. Uh, album 5. We're getting into the nitty gritty, guys. This album is one of I'd say one of the most powerful albums of the decade. Eat the Elephant, guys. First album in I think it was 14 years that A Perfect Circle had released. And I tried listening to their first album and their style wasn't really my thing. And whenever this album came out, because it was The Doomed. I think it was the first single they released for this album, and it made me cry. I can't lie. But just the entire album through and through is just as powerful as The Doomed. It has a pretty powerful subject. It kind of touches on politics a little bit, touches on religion a little bit, mainly just the state of society in like general. But guys, definitely one of the best albums of the decade. Every single song there. Okay, there's one song on it. I can't remember actually. I think it was Delicious. Delicious was the song I was just kind of like, eh. But even Delicious grew on me over time, and just guys, if you don't like A Perfect Circle, go listen to this album. This album is absolutely glorious. I never liked Perfect Circle outside of this album, and then I listened to this, and now I want to listen to A Perfect Circle. Like, I want to get into all their other albums. Uh, Side note, excited for Tool's new album to come out this year. Oh my god. But anyway, very powerful album. Oh my, you know what? That's all I can say. This album made me speechless. But moving on. Kind of taking it a notch up and down at the same time, mainly because I've listened to Between the Buried and Me religiously since I got into them. I've been listening to them since I was 18 or 19, and they're one of those. They're another one of those bands that just they can't disappoint. They can't release a bad song. It's physically it's it's out of this world. It's not possible for them to release a bad song. Automata, though, they broke new ground. They pretty much break new ground every single album they come out with. This was a little different, mainly in the sense that it was split into two. They originally weren't going to split this album in two, but I guess hold on, give me a second. There was an explanation to this. Um, hmm, but initially there. Oh wait. Okay, here it is. Here it is. Uh, okay, here we go. This is Thomas Giles, the lead singer of the band. He says, "We actually wrote it as one album, and after the fact, the more we listened to it, there was this moment literally halfway through the album that was an intermission, so to speak. We thought it would be cool to release it. We thought it would be a cool way to release it. The label was on board. They thought it would be a cool way to release it as well. That way, as did we become. Whoa. Let's try that again. They thought it would be a cool way to release it that way, as did we, because it was unique to how we normally do it. So, just kind of a fun fact, but it's a concept album, which most of their albums are. I think since the Great Misdirect. At least I know the last song on the Great Misdirect was supposed to be a prequel to the Parallax One. If you guys don't know all these albums I'm talking about, go listen to them. They're glorious. They won't disappoint you. But the concept of this album is, let's see right here. The album will revolve around the concept of being able to review dreams of others. What if a dream could be broadcast for the purpose of entertainment? Could you consume the innermost thoughts of another person on screen? If you could, what does that say about an attention-starved audience? More importantly, what could become of the dreamer? During an interview with that drummer guy, he also said, the protagonist in the story, his dreams are broadcast over the entire world as a form of entertainment, and because of this, he is taking advantage of by a company called Voice of Trespass. It follows one of his dreams where he is searching for a family that he lost. All those different aspects of the story and deals a lot with personal well-being, corruption, depression, the audience's perspective on the whole thing as well. It showcases his life in a way and things he deals with. Pretty interesting concept, guys. I do have to say so myself, and both parts are absolutely amazing. I know. I think the album was partially inspired by a few artists that passed away that committed suicide. It was not last year, but the year before it. I know Chester Bennington of Linkin Park, and I think Soundgarden. I think it was Soundgarden. Yeah, you know what? Give me a second. Yeah, it was Chris Cornell. That's right. Yeah, same year too. Jeez, that was a rough year for music, guys. And even last year was a rough year for metalheads because of the drummer for Vinnie Paul, the drummer for Pantera, passed away also. Um, but all in all, an amazing concept, guys. Amazing album. Feels like Between the Buried and Me, but they've also broken new ground. I highly, highly recommend it. I highly recommend every single album by Between the Buried and Me. But moving on to number 3, Seas of Infinity. Now, this band, before we get into Seas of Infinity, the album that got me into this band was actually 198 AD, and I became obsessed with this album for a good long while. Still kind of obsessed with it, but the album after it, Seas of Infinity, it first impression was it's not the album that I loved before, so I couldn't get into it. But eventually, it started growing on me, kind of like Avatar. And now I think this album is better than the previous one. They're actually a little different though. Seas of Infinity is a little darker than 198 AD, but Mega Drive guys, they're a retro or not they. It's actually a one man band. I don't know what his name is, but he is a new wave retro artist on YouTube. 198 AD was the first album I listened to, but this album I've actually been obsessed with all year. Seas of Infinity is really, it starts off really chill, at least the intro, and then it kind of explodes into the first song. But then the rest of the album is just super chill, super beautiful all the way through. No vocals, no nothing, just instrumentals, and it's amazing. That's all I can really say about it. Now, this one is basically my number 1 for 2018, and I'll tell you guys why the next one isn't my number 1 for 2018. But the cold sun, guys. Best breakthrough album of 2017. Best breakthrough album of 2017. I wish that I had gotten into this band when they released this album. It's I don't know if there's anyone out there saying that metalcore is dead, but metalcore is far from dead. This is one of the best metalcore albums I've listened to since oh man, I actually don't listen to a whole lot of metalcore these days. I want to say Killswitch Engage, but guys, this album's mind blowing. This is also another concept album. Um, I am not 100% sure what the concept of it is because you can't really find a whole lot of information on this album anywhere online. I think it's a readable on a lyric site called Genius, but I'm not going to go through and read all that. But it does have a certain concept that it goes by. It can also be interpreted, you know, to the listener, whatever the listener wants to interpret it as. Um, but through and through, guys, just another amazing album that I'm still obsessed with. I can't get away from this album. I'm currently having trouble staying away from this album, which is kind of why I'm forcing myself to listen to Gojira and Meshuggah right now. But starts off kind of chill, and then it spins insanity, especially on the second song. It explodes so well. Oh my god, there's beautiful melodies in it. It's got clean singing in it. The riffs, the drums, everything about this album is awesome, guys, and you gotta check it out. With that being said, this is my number one for 2018. Slipknot. And the main reason this is my number one for 2018, I'm only going to do this once, because I actually don't know how much I'm going to keep doing this on YouTube, like top 10 albums. Maybe I'll do, like, I don't know, bands I got into this month, or albums I got into this month, or something like that. But this album has been rocking my world since I got into music. This is the album that got me into music. Before I got into music, it was... I mean, I had a pretty big passion for it as a child. I loved listening to. I grew up with country. I loved listening to cassette tapes that my mom had, like Tim McGraw cassette tapes. Can't really remember if there was any other country. I did love Tim McGraw a lot though. And then eventually I started listening to rock, like Collective Soul. There was Counting Crows, and then but regardless. The heaviest thing that I had listened to before this album was Metallica or Linkin Park, and they're both kind of a different realm. So you can't really say that one's heavier. I would say that Linkin Park is a little heavier than Metallica, but like I said, they're in a little bit of a different realm. They're more modern than Metallica, so I guess that's why I say that. But I mean, I listened to bands like that on and off, but then this album, whenever I think it was 16 or no, it was 17. I think it was 17 whenever I started listening to this album legitimately, and I loved every second of it. It blew my mind, and I have to admit, whenever I was first getting into metal, especially with this album, there was something in my head that was just like, man, this is giving me a headache, but I love it. It's awesome. And most of you metalheads out there probably know this album already, but Slipknot, guys. It's the album that got me into music. It's the album that started me into music. And I love every second of it. It's still rocking my world, and it will till the day I die, more than likely. But that's going to be it for this video, guys. You know what? Let's do some honorable mentions real quick, because I actually had a little trouble coming up with a top 10 list. Let's see. I'll just throw the band names out there. We got Rendered Helpless, slam metal band I got into. I actually got into the Contortionist pretty hard there for a while too. Let's see, what else? Bands I got into this year. You know what? Honorable mention for Catatonia. Shout out to Catatonia, because I love Catatonia. They're absolutely glorious. One of my favorite bands. Meshuggah. I've been listening to Meshuggah and Gojira a lot, and I would have thrown another Gojira album on there. They're awesome. But let's see what else we got here. I have started listening to System of a Down, but very, very slowly. I guess that's it for the albums that I got into, or honorable mentions. But that's going to be it for this video, guys. I appreciate everyone watching. I will be streaming, let's see, about an hour and a half from the time I'm recording the end of this video. So I hope to see you guys there. If you guys liked the video, drop a like down below. And comment below what you thought of the video. You know, if you guys want me to do more of this, what your guys' favorite albums of last year were. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.